Aloha ukulele class. This is lesson 7. Today we're going to talk about exam 1 and how to get ready for that. And we're going to talk about another kind of broader subject, music literacy, which is all about how to read and write music and to analyze it and understand it. So the way I like to teach these classes is first, I like to get people playing some music, some songs, so that they can enjoy that and be practicing that. That's always an ongoing thing, and you want to start that as soon as possible. But now that we can read some simple tabs, we can strum some chords and uh, be pretty smooth and quick with switching from chord and chord and playing along with some example recordings or original recordings, um, and like maybe at a slower tempo, but able to keep up with some sort of beat, and play some simple melodies, some simple scales, and now we're even doing some two-part harmony melodies, which is even more interesting. So, but yeah, now is a good time to deepen our understanding of music on the paper, and this will help you to first of all to be able to learn songs quicker and better and more easily. Um, and it will help you to be able to eventually study music and learn music on your own independently after this class is over, which is one of the goals of the class, is that I want students to be able to study music on their own. If there's a song they want to learn, they have the ability to go find the music for it and then to understand what that music means and to use that to learn the song. And normally, the main thing that prevents you from being able to do that is the rhythms, because as you've seen, we've learned to read the tabs, and it tells you where the notes are on your ukulele, and um, that. But the hard thing is to be able to put that to a beat and to be able to play with some type of rhythmic precision. Okay, so this is going to help improve your understanding of that and help you improve, give you some ways of practicing rhythms. Okay, so first thing is, let's take a look at the exam 1 study guide. Okay, so we have an exam coming up and we want to get ready for that. And this exam is it's like some of your other assignments. It's going to be largely a test of how well you paid attention to this lesson today and the study materials associated with the lesson. um, and uh, and also you'll have a chance to submit an assignment before the exam that kind of gives you a little bit of a practice run, so that you can do that assignment, and then if things are not quite right, we can have a chance to correct that before you do it for a big grade for exam 1, which is worth 10% of your grade. So not that much, but you'd like to do as well as you can on it. All right, so exam 1 study guide. Let's see. Okay, so here it is. All right, memorize the following chords. Okay, so this is something that you've been told to do already in the lesson videos. To be able to play the chords from memory, you have to know that in order to play the song proficiently anyway. And this is a list of chords that that we've seen in songs that we've done already, but a couple here that we will have seen by the time of the exam. Okay, so some chords like F7, C7, um, and G7, um, we haven't seen yet, but we will by the time of the exam. Um, so, anyway, you have to memorize those, be able to match the chord symbol, such as A, E minor, and F, to the chord diagram. So this is a chord symbol. These are all chord symbols, right? And then the chord diagram. So that's pretty simple, right? So if I show you like you know, let's see, uh, this, right? And I say, what's this? Then you have to write D minor, right? So D with a little M, okay? Or, if I said, let's see, what's this? Okay, then you'd have to write E. So that's the first example, is that you're given the you're you're given the chord diagram, and you have to write the chord symbol. Okay, and the other thing that you'll be asked to do is you'll be given uh, a chord symbol, and you'll have to draw the diagram. Okay, so this part is a little harder just because you haven't done it yet. So if I write, let's see, F sharp minor, okay? And if you remember, we had this chord in our song Stand By Me. Stand By Me in A. And then what you do is you draw the circles in the right place. Okay. Alright. Trying to do my best to draw a circle here with the digital stylus. And then you write the fingering. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's F sharp minor. If we go back and look at our chord chart, all right, you'll see you have this, and then that's the thing. And also, if you want to draw an open string here, you can. You'll have space in order to draw those little open strings if you want, but the main thing is getting the circles here and the number, the fingering inside the circle, okay? And then it has to match what's on that chord sheet, okay? So like this one is one that people get confused about, and let me show you how to do that, okay? It's really easy to remember because it's like this: second fret, second fret, second fret, right? But this is the hard thing to remember, okay? It's finger 2, finger 3, and finger 4, like so. Okay, that's a little messy, but I'm using this like touchpad to do this. I can go back and do it, Control Z, and do that again. Um, so, when you have your exam, you can print it out and write on it with pencil or pen, if you're feeling confident. And then you can submit that by scanning it or taking a picture of it and then emailing it to me. Or you can Photoshop it like what I'm doing here, and you can just draw the things, or you can write, using the text tool. Okay, so that's another part is drawing the chord diagrams. All right, so let's close this because we're done with this. Uh, don't save changes, done with that. All right, back to the study guide. Next thing, um, well, let's get to we'll get to number 2 later. This is going to be one of the main parts of the lesson today is number 2. Be able to write the counting underneath a rhythm as demonstrated in this lesson and be able to write the strum direction symbols on top. All right. And then let's talk about this one. Be able to write the tabs for position 1, 2, and 3, and also be able to identify which position is which from looking at the tab. So these are, by the time of exam 1, we want to have these scales memorized and be able to play them from memory really well. But then also we want to be able to recognize them when we see them. Okay, so you know, if if you see this, you're given the scale in tab form, and then you have to write position 2. Okay, or you see this scale, and you have to write position 3. All right, and then there's the other part. Okay, so if you have to write the tab for the scale, which again is a little bit harder because you're used to seeing this, and hopefully you've learned the name of the chord or the scale in tab form, but the thing you haven't done so much is writing it. Okay, so what you can do is you can go online and find maybe a ukulele tab blanks, print some out, and then just practice writing the scales out in tab form. All right, so if it says uh, position 3, okay, and then what you have to do is you have to write the tab. Okay, so 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, okay, 5, 7, 8, 5, 5, 7, 8, okay, and this is position 3. Um, and it doesn't matter, you don't have to draw bar lines or anything. You could put this in one measure. You won't have to write rhythms out. You just have to write the numbers 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8. Okay, the other thing is that you don't get partial credit. Like, if you get 2 of the notes in the chord and you leave 1 of the notes out, that's just a wrong answer. Okay, same thing here. Like, if you leave 1 of the notes out, then that whole thing is wrong. You don't get credit for each note that you put down. It's either you give the right answer or the wrong answer for position 3. Okay, so you want to take your time and double check that. Okay, if it says position 1, or really what it should say is the full name of the scale, which is C major position 1. This would say C major position 3. Not that we've learned any other kinds of scales other than C major, but it would say, yeah, C major position 1, C major position 3. Okay, so position 1, 0, 2, 0, 1, 3, 0, 2, 3. Okay. And that's position 1. That's the correct answer. Okay, so that's how that works. And that should be pretty easy if you can remember the scales. Okay. Okay. Let's see. The next thing I want to talk about is how to read the treble clef notes. Okay, so on your study guide. Okay, we've talked about the chords and recognizing the chord diagram or being able to draw the chord diagram. All right, and then recognizing the scales um, and being able to write out the tab for each scale. Okay, and then down here, number 4, be able to identify notes on the treble clef using Every Good Boy Does Fine and Face. So we're going to talk about that right now. And this is pretty simple, actually. Um, but sometimes people kind of overthink it, and um, edits. These concepts are simple, actually. The hard thing to do is to play the music, but understanding how it's written is usually fairly simple. So here's another document here, how to read the treble clef. All right, so this is a treble clef, this squiggly symbol thing right here. Okay, and what that tells us is basically what these lines and spaces represent. So before we learn to read the tabs, and don't get confused here because these lines have nothing to do with our instrument strings, rather they are pitches, specific pitches, and it does not tell you where this note is on your instrument. You have to learn that. Okay, and also we don't just use the lines on the treble clef, we also use the spaces. So a note can be written on a line or a space. Okay, and depending on what the clef uh, is here, whether it's a treble clef or a bass clef or an alto clef, it the lines and the spaces could represent different notes. Okay, but what we read on our instrument, the ukulele, is the treble clef. Okay, and we play a concert instrument, and what that means is that when we play a note on this treble clef, it will sound the same as the note that is played on the piano. Okay, and there's certain instruments like that, such as the violin and the flute, and also the ukulele is one of those. Other instruments, when they play one of these pitches, it may sound different than the note that's played on the piano. That's called a transposition. But we don't have to worry about that. We're a concert instrument. So it's good. It's good to be a concert instrument. So the lines on the treble clef are E, G, B, D, F. And you remember that by every boy, every good boy does fine. Okay? Or here they're trying to be clever and they say every guitarist begins doing fine. But the main one that people know is this: every good boy does fine. Okay? This is a little bit too fancy for me. Guitarist is like, that's a big word. Every good boy does fine. That's the most common one. All right? So that's for the lines. And then later we'll learn where these notes are on our instrument and learn how to read those notes. Okay, and that's also pretty easy. We just learn a few notes at a time and practice reading them, and gradually you learn more and more notes on your instrument. We'll begin doing that in the next few lesson videos. All right, and I'll show you a little bit about that today, just to give you a little prep time. Okay, so if we take a look at some example music, um, let's see. Notes. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. Let's get in the right folder. Notes. Okay, so here's one that we'll do later once we've learned how to read a few notes. So let's zoom in here. Okay, so we see some notes that are on the lines, and we see some notes that are on the spaces. Okay, so how do we know what note is which? All right, very simple. We use every good boy does fine if it's on a line. All right, so what's this note? Well, it's G because every good, okay, and that's G. This is E because as in every good boy does fine. That's the first word in the sentence. Okay, what's this note? Well, let's see. Every good boy. That's a B. Okay, what's this note? Every good boy does. That's a D, and I'm not sure if we'll find any F's, but if there was a note on the top here, that would be F. Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure that D is the highest note here. Excuse me. So that's pretty simple, right? All you have to remember is every good boy does fine, and depending on which line you see it on, G for every good, B for every good boy. Okay? Don't worry about the notes underneath the staff yet. We'll talk about that later. All right? So, what about the spaces? Okay? Well, the spaces just spell the word face. F-A-C-E. So we don't have to remember a sentence, we just have to know how to spell this word face. Okay? And let's look at some notes on the spaces. What's this note? Let's see. Let's spell the word face. We'll count the spaces. F-A-C. So this is C. All right. How about this note? Well, it's F because it's on the first space. Okay. How about this note? F-A. That's an A. Okay. And C, right? And we don't have any E's here, but if there was a note here in this space, that would be E because F-A-C-E. Alrighty, so that's fairly simple. The other way to understand how this works is that if we just go start on this line right here, okay, and we go line to the next space, line to the next space. It starts on E because this is E as in every good boy does fine, and then it goes alphabetical. So it goes E, and then the next space is F, then the next line is G, and the music alphabet only goes up to G. So there's no H or I, it's just G is the last note in the music alphabet. So when you go to the next thing, it starts again on A. So this is A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. Okay, we can start going above this, so we can put a note here on top of the top line, and that note is G. And then we can add another line here, and that's A. And then we can put a note on top of that line, and that's B. Those are called ledger lines. So if you see anything above or below the staff, then you can count the lines and spaces and go through the alphabet like that. Okay? Or if it's below there, we go backwards through the alphabet. So we start from E, and then the next one here is D, and then the line below that is C, and then the line below that, a space below that is B, and so on. So let's take a look at some ledger lines. Real quick. Um, here's some music, AC/DC, and I just know that this one has like a good combination of high notes and low notes. Alright, so sorry the resolution's not great when you zoom in, but it's okay. So every good boy does fine. And then we have a note way down here and a bunch of ledger lines. So how do you figure out what these notes are? We go backwards through the alphabet. So this line is E, as in every good boy does fine. The space under it is D, so this note is D. And then this line will be C, space is B, line is A, and then the space is G. Okay, so because the thing that comes before A in the music alphabet is G again, and because there's only A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and nothing else. Okay, so again, we start on the line E, and then we count backwards through the alphabet. D, C, B, A, G. Okay, and that's how that works. It's a little bit harder to go backwards through the alphabet than forwards through the alphabet, but in music you have to do both. Let's find some higher notes. Let's go down here to the guitar solo. Okay, and we'll go down here where the notes get higher. Okay, here's kind of a high note. Nothing higher than that? Oh, they did an 8 VA thing. Okay. Alright. Well, we don't need to go much higher than this. So, every good boy does fine. So the top line here is F, and then the space on top of that is G, and then the next line is A, because what comes after G is A again, and then the space above that is B, and the line above that is C, and then the line above that is D. So that's how that works. So what's this note? Well, let's count. So every good boy does fine. That's where, you know, as far as what we know from the treble clef, that's where it ends. And then we have to count forwards through the alphabet. F, and then the next space is G, and then the line above that is A, the space above that is B, and the line above that is C, and the space above that is D. So this is a D. Okay. Now there won't be any ledger line type notes on your exam, but it's good to know how to do that. You know, we can put notes up above the staff, and we can put notes down below the staff. All right. But as far as the staff goes, we just have to remember this. Every good boy does fine, and FACE. Okay, and the way you can practice this is you just find you know, any kind of sheet music online, and then use you know, these things, every good boy does fine, and the word face, to figure out what the notes are. Okay, let's look back at the study guide. Okay, so we have two other symbols, all right, and this thing is a sharp, okay, and this thing is a flat. So this gives you some things to practice. Let's hide the letters for now. Okay, so sharp means that the note is higher. So it's an F, and then we raise the note up to the next highest pitch, which is F sharp. Okay, flat means that the note is lower. So G flat is one pitch lower than G. Okay, it's not a little b, it's a flat. It's not a hashtag, it's a sharp. Okay, sharp means to raise the pitch, flat means to lower the pitch. Okay, so what's this note? All right, well, if you remember, the spaces are F, A, C, E. So this is F, but it's not just F, it's F sharp. Okay, and the way you can write that is you can write just the symbol for sharp, F, followed by the symbol for sharp, or you can write SHARP. You can write F SHARP, but normally in music we don't write out the words for sharp and flat, we just use the symbols for sharp and flat. So this is the correct answer here. Okay, here, let's hide this again. All right, what's this note? Easy. Every good boy does fine. That's an F, and it doesn't have a flat or a sharp next to it, so it's just F. Okay. All right. This note. Okay. Well, you saw it already. It's B flat, right? Every good boy, and it has the flat sign next to it, so it's B flat. Understand? Okay, what's this note? It's on a line or a space. It's on a line. Let's count the lines. How do we do that? Every good boy does. That's a D. Okay. Here's another one on this space. It's on a space. We have to remember we spell the word face F-A-C-E, so this is F. Okay, F. And then finally, this one is on a line, so we use the sentence, every good boy does fine. That means this is G, and there's a flat symbol next to it. So the way we write that is G flat, like so. G flat, and we can just use this symbol for flat. We don't have to write out F-L-A-T, flat. We just do a G followed by the flat symbol. Okay, so that's pretty good. I mean, it's not that hard, and it's good to be able to understand just that basic point, right? You see a note on the treble clef, and you identify what that note is. Is it an A, a B, a C, D flat, G sharp? What is it? Okay. Later, we'll learn how to find notes on our instrument. Okay. So let's talk. Well, let's talk about that. I say later, but I mean like right now. Um, so um, we're gonna have kind of an introduction to how to do that, but then later we'll practice that and we'll really be able to know where those notes are on our instrument. Okay, so let's take out our instruments now, and make sure you always tune it. We would hope that you'd be able to do that really well, but then I always see people's assignments and sometimes they're still out of tune. I think some people just think that the instrument just stays in tune. They're like, oh, I tuned it yesterday. Should still be in tune, right? Wrong. So always tune it, especially before you do some sort of assignment. Okay, now let's take a look at notes on the A string. Okay, so the way we learn the notes is kind of the same way we learn the scales, is we just do them one by one, and we don't try to memorize too many things all at once. Same way we learn scales and chords, and so we usually start with position 1. Okay, we don't immediately learn how to read all the notes up here. We just learn a few at a time. All right. So here is A. Okay, remember F, A, C, E. And this is our A, as in the A string. Okay? Alright, that's why it's called the A string, because this note is A. Alright. And then the first fret note, right? And it tells you where it is. A is open. Open A. And this is notes on the A string, so we know all these notes are on the A string. Okay, and then first fret, this is a note, it's called B flat, or it can also be called A sharp. All right, so remember when I said sharp means you raise the pitch and flat means you lower the pitch. Okay, we have this note on the second fret is called B. All right, B. So I have A, open. All right, and I can sharp the A. All right, when I sharp a note, it moves one fret higher. So this is A sharp. Okay, and then we have this note up here, B, on the second fret. And I can flat this note, and I wind up moving it one fret lower. So this is B flat, and you'll notice that whether I sharp A or I flat B, I wind up at this same place. So it's the same, but it has two different names. Okay, B flat or A sharp. Okay, and then finally on the third fret we have this note C. Okay, so F, A, C. F, A, C, E for the spaces, and this is C, and it's on the A string on the third fret. And that makes sense because that's the note that we hold when we play the chord C. And that makes sense. We're playing a chord C and it has a C, and the C is on the top of the chord. Or when we play the C scale, and it starts and ends on C. Okay. So we have a song here. All right, and then we just, at first, we just try and match the pitch. So we have A open and B second fret, and we have C on the third fret. And then we just do them one by one. So A, B, A, B, C, B, C, B, A. Now we're here. B, A, B, A, like so. Okay. Next one. All right. So it's just I often tell my students when they're learning to read notes and learning to read music at first that it's not a guessing game, it's a matching game, right? So you just match the symbol that you see to the place on your ukulele. Right. And we did that with tabs, oh, C string, second fret, okay? And we play the note, all right? This is the same thing, but you're being shown, the note on the treble clef and where it is on your instrument, and then you try to remember that, okay? A. All right, and we've just learned that the spaces are F, A, C, E, so we know that this is A. This is our A string, so that makes sense. Okay. Next thing we have is A and then C. Okay, and if you remember, C is over here on the 3rd fret. Okay, so we go A, and then C, C. Here's a B, B, A, B, A, C, B, C, B, A. Okay, so it's good. You get the repetition. Seems like you're doing a lot of the same thing, but that's what you want to do. Is you want to do this a lot and really ingrain that in your psyche, that when you see this note, you play the note. You know where it is. You know where that note is, and you learn to recognize that. Okay. And this will help you to understand, music on the paper. We've been looking at these notes anyway, but we just learn like what the rhythm symbols mean and not what the other part of the symbol means, which we're doing now, which is the pitch. Okay, and then when you get down here at the bottom, you have a few notes that have these flat signs next to them. All right, so B flat. So if we know the note B, okay, and we flat it by moving it down 1 fret, okay, to B flat. Or we can go up here and look, oh, B flat, 1st fret. Okay, now the thing about these flat and sharp symbols is that when I put the flat here, it flats all the same notes in the measure. So I don't need to put a flat here or a flat here. I just need it right here. So it goes B flat, and then the next note is also B flat, and then the next note is C, and then this is also B flat. Okay, now it's pretty easy when you just have a few notes in the measure. Where it gets difficult is if you have like 12 notes in the measure and one of them is flatted over here, and then 8 notes later it's still flat, and you have to remember that. So that's how that works. In the next measure, if you see a B, it's no longer assumed to be flat. It only applies to what's inside the measure. Okay, so this is B flat, C, B flat, and I only have to write this flat here, and it carries over to all of the other notes in the same measure. Also here, B flat, and then it carries over here to B flat. So in fact, all of the B's are flat in this song. All right, so that's how to read the notes. And then the notes on the E string. Where'd my video go? Works the same way. It just shows you the notes on the other string. Okay, so E open, F is the 1st fret. Okay, we can sharp F, that moves it up 1 fret. That's F sharp on the 2nd fret, but it's also G flat because G is on the 3rd fret here, and we can flat G. Okay, we wind up where it's the same thing, whether it's F sharp or G flat. Okay, and then you practice reading E. Okay, E, F, E, and at first it's a matching game, and then eventually you want to try to not keep looking back up here. You want to try to remember those notes. And then G, that's the note over here. G, F, G, F, E, F, G, F, E, and so on. And don't forget that when I sharp a note, it carries over to all the other notes in the measure. But that's basically how you do this, is you learn a couple notes and then you practice reading them. But then down here is it gets a little bit harder, because now we start playing notes on the first and the second string. I mean the E and the A string. So we start out with E, and then F, and then G, but then here we go to A sharp. So yeah, down here it gets a little bit harder, because then you have to start remembering the notes on the E and re-remembering the notes on the A string as well. So as you add more and more strings, it gets harder because you have to remember more and more notes. So it gets E, F, G, and then we have A sharp, and then G, which this is pretty easy if you have those charts in front of you where it tells you where each note is. But if you try and put those away and remember, which is what you want to do, F and E, and then we have C, and then A sharp, and G, and F, and so on. Okay, so that's how that works. And don't worry, because in the next couple lesson videos we'll revisit that and practice more reading the notes, going string by string. And for the exam, all you have to do is to see the note and then write the pitch of the note, right? Whether it's an F or an A sharp or whatever it is. Okay, let me show you just a couple more things about the notes. All right, one way to remember the notes that's pretty easy is to remember your scale. Okay, so scales, and then this also shows you where the notes are. Okay, so C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. So if you're trying to find a note, a good way to do that is to play the scale. All right, so if we go back to notes on the E string and say, I want to find this note. Well, I know it's an A because F, A, C, E. All right, that's kind of an easy one to remember because it's the A string. All right, but we can also use the scale to find that if it's not making sense to us. So we go C, D, E, F, G, A, and there's our A. Okay, or if we want to find this note, we know that's a G because every good boy does fine, and we play our scale. We go C, D, E, F, G, and there's our G. Okay, so the scale shows you where all the natural notes are in a position. Okay, how about a tricky one like A sharp? Okay, so first we can find A. So C, D, E, F, G, A. And then what do you do to sharp a note? You move it one fret higher. And here's our A sharp. Okay, so if you know where all the natural notes are, the C, D, A, B, C, D, E, F, G notes, then you can automatically know where the flat and the sharp notes are. Okay. Then also we have some charts that show you where the notes are on your ukulele. Okay, one of the charts is on your chord sheet, and it's right here. So here's a chart that shows you where all the notes are. So it shows you the C scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, just like what we just played. But then it shows you where all the other ones are. Okay. So like if we play the position 2 scale, C, and then D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, that's a C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and it shows you where all the notes are on, you know, every string on the first 12 frets, okay? And one thing that you'll notice here is that the 12th fret notes are the same as the open string notes. So if you have G, C, E, A, great chefs eat a lot. And if you go up to the 12th fret, you have the same notes again. G, C, E, A, great chefs eat a lot. But it's one octave higher, right? And an octave is the term for, if we go from G and we keep getting higher and higher and higher until we reach the next G, a higher G, that's called an octave. Okay. Now, there's one other way to know the notes, and that's with the note wheel. All right. So say, I don't have my note chart. How do I find a note? I want to find, a certain note in a certain position on my ukulele. Okay, we can look at this thing called the note wheel. And actually, the note wheel is good because it kind of helps us to visualize how these notes work. Okay, here's the note wheel, and it goes around like a clock, right? Because there's 12 notes, only 12 specific tones. Some of them have different names, right? But there's only 12 of them. That's why, when we get from 0 back, when we get to 12, we arrive back at the same note. Okay, so let's take the G string, all right, and we'll go down here to G, all right, and then each one of these represents one fret on your instrument. So the next note is G sharp, okay, that's the first fret. Second fret is A, third fret is A sharp, fourth fret is B, fifth fret is C, sixth fret is C sharp, seventh fret is D, eighth fret is D sharp or E flat, ninth fret is E, 10th fret is F, 11th fret is F sharp or G flat, and then finally we're back to G when we get to the 12th fret. Okay, let me show you what I just did. Okay, so G and then G sharp, A sharp, B, C. Okay, that's a funny thing there because there's no note between B and C. There is a note called B sharp, but it's the same as the note C, and there's a note called C flat, which is the same note as B. Okay, so when we get to a B, the next fret is C, and then C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Okay, and here's another funny thing is that between E and F there's no note, so that when we get to E, the next note is F. Okay, and then after that is F sharp, and then when we get to the 12th fret, guess what? We're back to G. Okay, and if you look back at the note wheel, it shows you that same thing, that E and F. There's nothing in between. We can sharp E, but we wind up with an F, and we can flat F, but we wind up with an E. And you know, it's hard to explain unless you've taken a music theory class of why you would want to have a note called E sharp rather than to write an F, or why you would want to have an F flat rather than an E. But sometimes you do, is the simple answer to that question. But if you learn more about the keys and the key signatures, you'll start to understand why we have notes like E sharp or F flat. Same thing with B and C. There's nothing in between that. B sharp is the same as C, C flat is the same as B. Okay? And that's how you find the notes on each string. Okay, if we want to do the next string, the C string, right? We start on C and we go around the 12 frets, right? C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, because there's no sharp between E and F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and then there's nothing between B and C, right? So B, and then we arrive on the 12th fret, and we have a C again. Alright, and we can do that for each string, and that's a way you can understand like what the names of the notes are on all your strings on all your frets. Okay, the note wheel can help you do that, and it will line up with what's here on this chart. And also, when we learn those 5 scale positions that we're working on, we've learned 3 of them. That helps us to learn this too, where those natural notes are on all the different frets of your ukulele, all the positions and frets on the ukulele. Okay, so moving on, let's do rhythms. Okay, so we've talked about everything that's going to be on the exam except number 2, which is counting and diagramming rhythms. Okay, and you have an assignment, which is this exam 1 study guide assignment. You're given some examples here, and what you're going to do is you're going to write the counting and the strum direction symbols over each rhythm, and then email it to me. And that's a way we can check to see if you understand this before you take the exam. So you have a lower stakes type of assignment, and that way we can correct any misunderstanding that you have before you do it for higher stakes on the exam in terms of your grade. Okay, and that's posted. That will be posted as an assignment on Google Classroom as well. It's due Monday, October 17th. You just fill this out and email it to me. And like I said, it's like the exam. You can print this out and write on it, and then scan it or take a photo of it, and then email it to me. Or you can do it digitally if you're good at doing Photoshop and stuff, but it has to look good, okay? It can't look like the way I did, like those chord diagrams that, with, circles that don't look like circles. It needs to look neat and clear, okay? So let's talk about that. You have this other thing, guide to reading, to counting eighth notes. All right, counting, picking, strumming, whatever. Well, we don't do picking on ukulele, but like in terms of with a guitar pick, I guess some people do. I don't think it sounds particularly good to use a pick on your ukulele. I prefer playing fingerstyle. But yeah, for guitar, they do use picks, and you can go down with the pick or up with the pick. For us, this mainly applies to the strumming. Okay. So the other thing that you have to consult when you're doing this is that rhythm chart. Okay, here's the rhythm chart. Alright, and this shows you the beat values, which is very important. We don't need to worry about the rests just yet, or even we don't even really care what it's called. What we want is matching the cymbal to how many beats it gets. Alright, so this is 2 beats and this is 1 beat, and so on. Alright, so let's take a look at this. And we've talked about what these symbols mean. This means down, this means up. And for the purposes of counting, which I think we've seen this already, like in charts like Knocking on Heaven's Door, we show you that this plus sign here means and. I like the plus sign because it's easy to write. It's, using an ampersand is not such a good idea because it's not easy to draw that, and you don't want to have to draw that every single time. So I like just the plus. It's very simple. One, and it means and. Okay. So we have some simple rhythms here. Okay, quarter note is 1, half note gets 2, and whole note gets 4, and then the dotted half note is 3. All right, as we've discussed before. So quarter note is 1, half note is 2, dotted half note is 3, and whole note is 4. So those are really easy to count. Okay, this is like Eau Claire de la Lune or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star type rhythms. Simple rhythms, not very interesting, but simple. Okay, simple is good sometimes. So we don't need to use and unless we have eighth notes. Okay, that's when we start using and. For these, we can just simply write 1, 2, 3, 4 because quarter notes come on every single beat. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 because the half notes get 2 beats each, and the quarter note or whole note rather gets the entire measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4 for that, and then dotted half note gets 3 beats, 1, 2, 3, and the quarter note on the end will be 4. Okay, and everything is down on that. All right, so if you imagine if we're strumming a C chord and we'll strum down, okay, and we go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's why it says when there are no eighth notes, you don't have to use and to count because there's nothing that's coming on an and. It's all coming on either 1, 2, 3, or 4. And it says up here, strum or pick down on beats 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, and this is a very simple rule. So if it's on 1, 2, 3, or 4, it's down, and if it's on and, it's up. And that's the easy part of all of this, is that once you have the counting, if you got the counting right, the writing the strum direction symbols is really easy because if it's on a 1, 2, 3, or 4, it's down, and if it's on and, it's up. Okay, and that makes things very simple. And let's do that one more time. This time I'm going to have the beat counted out with the Speak Beat app.
1 and 2.
Except I'm not going to have it count with and, just
1,
quarter notes.
2, 3, 4.
Okay, so C chord
1,
on
2,
example 1.
3,
3, 4.
One,
down,
two,
down,
three,
down,
four.
down,
One,
down,
two, three,
down,
four. One,
down,
two, three, four. One,
down,
two, three, four.
down. Okay, so that's how you do that. And say, if you didn't quite understand where to all of these fall, once you write the counting underneath, then you can aim for those beats and know exactly where each note falls on the beat, and then play it along with the metronome. Okay, so these lines here are measure lines. Okay, this is measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. And all that means is that when we go past a measure line, we always start the count again at 1 after a measure line. Okay, I've seen people do things on exams like they say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, no. This means that you can only count to 4. So after 4, that's it. There's no 5, okay? If it says 3 4, then you only count to 3. And that's the only thing we'll see on the exam, on this first exam, is 3 4 time or 4 4 time, which are the most common. 4 4 is the most common, and 3 4 is the second most common. Okay, and in 3 4 time, 1 2 3, we have a measure line, and then it's 1 2 3. So if you have this 3 4 and you've written a 4 here in the count, then that's incorrect. No, no, no. Or if you write a 5 or anything like that in 4 4 time, that's wrong. After the measure line, the count restarts at 1. All right. So it gets a little trickier when we start counting with and, but we've seen a lot of these rhythms already in Ode to Joy, Amazing Grace, Aloha Oi, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Stand By Me, Brown Eyed Girl. So we've seen this and we know how to play it. And we've seen the counting because the strum patterns show the counting underneath, and a lot of other lessons we talk about how to count these things. All right, so um, quarter notes are one beat, right? So if we're using and, it's one and then the next note will come on two, just like the quarter notes. All right. So this is kind of a simple measure to understand right here, because we have just quarter notes and eighth notes. Everything's coming on the beat. So one beat for quarter notes, one and two and. But the eighth notes, they come on every beat and also on the ands. So this is two and then this comes on three. It's another quarter note. So three and then four and. Okay, so we're counting eighth notes here. So when we count one and two and three and four and, that's eight things. Okay, so the eighth notes are one for each of these things. All right, and the quarter notes get two of these time increments, right? So if I was to count this with and, it would be one and two and three and four and. So it's the same down here, one and two and three and four and. All right, similarly, it's really easy to understand this one because it's all eighth notes, and in that case, they come on every beat and also on the and. So one and two and three and four and. All right. So when we throw the dotted quarter note into the mix, that complicates things, mainly because it makes it so that the notes are no longer falling on every beat, which that makes things harder, because we have the urge to play on these beats, right? So when we have two, we want to play on two, and if we can't, then it makes things harder. So the dotted quarter note is 1.5, so it's the same as a quarter note plus an eighth note. So 1 and 2 and, so the next note does not fall on 2, it falls on the and after 2, which we call that the and of 2. Alright, so musicians, if we're talking about where one of these ands is, we can say the and of 3, the and of 4, the and of 1. And that's just a little bit shorter than saying the and after 1 or the and after 2, which is a little bit more cumbersome linguistically. So this goes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then when we understand all of that, half note gets 2 beats, so it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then we can play this whole thing. Okay? So let's play example 2. Alright, we're going to slow down the metronome and we're going to have it count with and. Okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3
and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
Okay, let's do that again. Now we're coming down on the beats and up on the ands, all right? And we're just playing a C chord. But when you're practicing, it really doesn't matter what chord you're playing, okay? So let's try that again.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and.
Okay, so I just wanted to have you play that because then that makes it more practical and pragmatic, right? Because what you're doing there is you can diagram the rhythm. So imagine you're looking at a piece of music that you want to learn, and it's really cool. It's like the coolest song ever, except you can't understand the rhythm. So what you can do is you can diagram it like this, and then write the strum direction symbols, and then after that you can play it, right? Slow it down and play it, and then gradually speed it up. And rhythm is always something that can be measured very precisely, like this. And that's just one of the things about music, is that it works pretty much the same no matter what style of music it is. And it's very, very useful if you know how to do this. So when you write the rhythm underneath the note, it has to come directly under the note head. All right, so like if you're doing this on the exam, it needs to look exactly like this. Okay, and you'll get a chance to win on your assignment. Okay, so like when I write 1, I want to write it right here, and 2, and then and will be directly under this note, directly. And because if it's not, then it's wrong, because I don't know, if you are understanding that where the note is falling on the beat. All right, so that has to be very precise. So you have to write directly under the notes. Okay, so which is pretty easy to do if you're using a pencil. If you're doing it digitally, you have to, you better be good at whatever program you're using and be able to get it right underneath that note. Otherwise, it's wrong, because like if the and is underneath this, then it's wrong. Even if it says one and the one is coming over here, the and is here, that's wrong because it did not appear directly under the note. All right, and then strum direction symbols should be easy as long as you got the count right. If it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, it's down, and if it's and, it's up. Okay, so this complicates things when we tie notes together. Okay, so the tie does not affect the counting, right? So we still write 3 underneath this note, even though it's a note that's being held over, right? Because we still have to count the tied notes. But the difference here is that you cannot write a strum direction symbol over this note because it's not being played. You understand that? Because it's just being held over. Nothing is played here, and if you write a down over that, then that makes it incorrect, because that means you don't understand how this tied note works. So let's play this example right here. Okay, and what you do is you don't play anything on 3, and that's why you can't have a strum direction symbol there. So it goes 1
and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1
down,
and 2
up,
and 3 and 4
down.
and
Okay, and nothing happens on 3 because the note is tied, and therefore you cannot write a strum direction symbol there. So you have to be careful when you're doing that on the exam, because if you do write strum direction symbols there, it's wrong. Okay, here's a rhythm you should recognize. This is our brown-eyed girl strum pattern. Okay, let's play that on C.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1
Down,
and 2
down, up,
3
up, down, up. Okay, and again, nothing happened on 3, so if you write a down strum symbol there, it's incorrect. Okay. Alright. And it says that here. You cannot put a strum or picking instruction down or up on the note that is held over. Okay. So the tied notes increase the difficulty in playing it, but it doesn't change anything about how you write the count. Okay, it just has to do with whether you're playing something here or not. That's all. A measure of 3/4. You cannot have a 4 when you're writing the count. It's just 1, 2, 3, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, and that's it. All right, we can have tied notes that are very long. Okay, we don't write any strum direction symbol here. Okay, and that pretty much covers it. We can try to do one of the examples. So here's our Knocking on Heaven's Door rhythm 2, and this is one that's just kind of randomly put together. So here, let's try and play the one on the bottom, and
1 and 2
have a bunch of tied
and
notes.
3 and 4
Ready,
and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 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 and.
Okay, so now I'm just reading the rhythms with the metronome, and obviously that's a really useful skill to know. First, to be able to diagram the rhythm, write the strum direction cymbals, but then also to play it finally. And doing all that kind of allows you to execute that last step, which is playing it. Let's do an example, all right? So I'm just gonna write like a random rhythm out here. I'll make it 2 measures. Or 3 measures rather. Okay, now let's put this over into Photoshop. Let's see, that's it. Alright. So here we have an example, and I'm going to show you how to write the counting, and then we'll put the strum direction symbols over. Let's see, I need strum direction symbols, so let's export this. Well, no need to export, just open this file, and then I can copy and paste my strum direction symbols. Okay. Alright, so first the counting. And where is my change the font size here. Let's try 12. 1. That's pretty good. Maybe 1 lower. Alright. Okay. Alright, here we go. Okay. So every measure starts with 1. Okay, this is an 8th note. So the next thing has to be and. Alright. This is a quarter note, so it gets 2 increments, right? It's twice as long as an 8th note. Alright, this is a rhythm we haven't seen before where we put a quarter note in between 2 8th notes, but it doesn't matter. It's we still follow the same rules. Okay, if you see a rhythm that you forget what the beat value is, you just go look it up on your rhythm chart, okay? And then here's and, all right? So each of the 8th notes are getting only 1 increment of time, and the quarter notes are getting 2 increments of time, okay? This is 3. And, oh, I hit the wrong button. And 4. Not $, 4 and. Okay. This note has to be on 4 because it's the last quarter note in the measure. See that? And then when we go across the bar line, we don't start counting from 5. Okay, it starts again from 1. All right, and you see I've written that directly under each note head so that there's no confusion. It's like I understand where every beat falls here. Okay, this is a dotted quarter note, so it's a quarter note plus an eighth, so it gets 3 increments of time here. So 1 and 2, and then this comes on and. All right, we can space that out a little bit better, you know. Okay, and then this is 2. And, oh, I'm sorry, not 2, 3. 3. And this is why you always want to go back and check to see what you did. Okay, there have to be 4 beats in each measure, and you also have to write the and after 4. Even though this comes on 4, you need to write and, because there needs to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and on every single measure, unless if you see one that doesn't have any eighth notes, and then you like we said, we don't need and to count that. Okay, so and that's that. And then we go to the next line, and we do this. Can we move this thing out of the way? Okay, that's annoying. I can just scroll up. All right, so we get 1 and change my font, but that's okay. 2 and, because it's a quarter note, it gets 2 increments. 3 and this comes on 4, 4 and. All right, so I'm just showing you what you're required to do on your study guide assignment, and also what will be on your exam, which is you have to write that counting underneath each of those notes, and the count has to be in the right place. It needs to be written directly under the note head so that there's no confusion about whether you understand this or not. Okay, and then finally you arrange the picking direction symbols. Okay. And just gonna cut and paste here. I'm gonna do the downs first and then go back and do the ands, just because it's easier with this software here. Okay, Control V. All right, so down on 1s, 2s, and 3s and 4s, and then up on the other ones. Okay, all right, so every one where I have a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Here's a 3, except I can't put 1 there, right? Because there's the notes tied. So if you put 1 here, it's wrong. Okay, I'm only putting these on notes that are played, not ones that are held over. Okay, I can't do that one either because it's also tied, you see, with the tied. All right, so I put 1 here. I put 1 here on 3. And I put 1 here on 4. Okay. They're a little bit small, but that's okay. And then I'm going to cut out my up, and I'll do the ups. Okay, and I'm going to put that everywhere there's a note that we play on an and. That's very simple, right? And here's another one. Okay, here's one. And these we put above the note. All right, you put the count below, I put the strum direction symbol above, and that keeps them separate, gives you enough space to do that. and also it needs to go directly over the note, so there's no confusion there. All right, here's another and. All right, don't worry, we're gonna go back and check this. This is and. This is and that should be it. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so we have downs on all the notes that come on a 1, 2, 3, or 4, and we have ups on all the notes that come on and, except when we have tied notes, we cannot put a strum direction symbol here or on any note that is not played. Okay, only on the notes that are played. And I hope that makes sense. Let's play this rhythm now, okay? And we'll just do the strumming on the chord C. Ready?
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
Okay. So we just take that last step to show you that this is something that's very practical and useful, because we're actually using this to learn how to play a song. Okay, we can use the diagramming and play it. All right, you don't need to do that, right? If you see the rhythm and you understand it, okay, it's simple enough to be played, to be read. Fine, okay, but I guarantee you eventually you'll find a rhythm where you scratch your head and go, oh, I don't know, I heard it and it's a little bit too fast for me to understand or to be able to just listen to it and play it back. And then it's going to be really useful if you can just take out your pencil and write the counting and the strum direction symbols, and then play it, and you've got it. You've deciphered it. You can read it. You're musically literate, and that's a good thing. So I hope that this has been enlightening, and that it's going to help prepare you for that exam, but more importantly, that it will deepen your understanding of the music and lead further down the line to you being able to study music independently and learn songs on your own. Okay, so that's it for today's lesson. I will see you in the next lesson video. Mahalo.